birthday to you. Happy birthday, Michael. Happy birthday to you.
We couldn't let that one go by. We thought you were getting away with
It's absolutely amazing. It's wonderful to see all the friends and the family that are gathered here. It's very impressive, and I'm loving every moment of it, as I'm sure you are. Yes, thank you. Well, just to get things kicked off, I got my brother-in-law, Peter Bissonnette, who happens to be Tracy's husband. Tracy, of course, is Mike and Beth's daughter. Peter's going to be the master of ceremonies here. So just to kick things off, he's going to give us the wonderful speech that I know he can deliver. I know I can't. So Peter, if you can come up here and we can kick things off. And thank you so much for coming, everyone. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Good job.
Thanks so much, Darren. And it was about 3 or 4 days ago we had a chance to spend some time with Mike and Beth, just to get clear on what the chronology of their life was, so that it could be reasonably accurate in the foretelling of it. But are you okay there, Darren? Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay, Darren? Everybody can hear me back there? Bye, can you hear me? And but it's interesting that we're here at Glen Eagles, which is a course that Mike and Beth and I love to play. And I was looking down the fairway there, and I could still see Mike in the sand trap, and Beth on the green, and me floundering away somewhere off in the rough. But so, as you know, we all know that ultimately Beth will see these videos of the night, and it's really important from a getting well point of view that we all send her our absolute wonderful get well. So I'd love you to just kind of give a little bit of a noise in the background. So that's for you. Tonight is a celebration of love. It's a testament to friendship and partnership. It's an example of the power of positive parenting. I was to see the children here and the grandchildren. It's all about role modeling and the magnetic attraction to good. Mike and Beth are humbled by your attendance tonight. Making a fuss over them, as you know, while appreciated, goes beyond their unselfish Alberta roots. So what's the story? I guess to tell a story about somebody that's married, a couple that's been married for 50 years, you have to kind of go back to the beginning. And what the heck was going on 50 years ago in our world? The average yearly income was $5,800. A gallon of gas was 25 cents. A stamp was 5 cents. An Admiral black and white TV, because they barely had color, was $139. A prefab home, which we'll learn later was about $9,000. Life magazine was 35 cents, and a visit to our proverbial doctor for the bend over and pull your cheeks apart was $5. And what was showing on TV for those who had televisions? Father Knows Best. And Tracy knows all about that. The Jetsons, who actually were all about what's going to happen 50 years from now, and they actually had quite a bit of that right. The Jetsons was premiering at the time. Another World premieres, those like soap operas. Bewitched, where you can wiggle your nose and you'd have your best wishes come true, was #1, just premiered. Goomer Pyle was on, he just started. And the Rolling Stones appeared on our favorite show, Sunday nights, Ed Sullivan, as we were all picked in. What was the music that was playing? I know Mike and Beth were country aficionados, but country wasn't that much being played on the air. There was one song called Hey, girls, don't cry. Do, girl, girl, do, girl. And roses are red, my love. We all remember those songs. And what were who was dying at the time? Marilyn Monroe and Eleanor Roosevelt. What a contrast in styles. And who was being born 50 years ago? Jim Carrey, our famous Canadian actor. Clint Black, who Mike kind of relates to. Garth Brooks, who he really relates to. And Tom Cruise, who many used to relate to. And what do we have today that we didn't have then? Of course, we didn't have the internet, so when Mike and Beth were in Spirit River, there wasn't the kind of immediacy of communications that we have now, Alex and Georgia have now. There wasn't iPads and iPods and HDTV and 3D TV and microwave ovens, cable television, Amazon, Google, Apple TV. None of that existed. So they had each other. Mike was 17 years old. I think you were living in Spirit River, weren't you, Mike? Beth was just barely 15. Mike was driving a 1953 green Ford pickup with big pipes, is what Beth described it. I don't know if big pipes means girth or sound. Beth heard that truck in her yard one day with, as she said, big pipes. And she had never met the person who was actually driving that truck, but she had a big suspicion. The next day, being Beth, she went to see Mike and she confronted him. And she said, what the heck were you, did you drive in my driveway? Do you know I have a 6'4" father? Mike at the time was 17, somewhat intimidated by Beth, but he could feel that passion for Beth. That was August 3rd, 1962, when Mike was stocking shelves. He was 17, she was 15. That very same day, the day after she confronted Mike, they took a ride in his truck to Dunvegan. Tracy said vegan, some say vegan. I like to eat. I don't eat vegan, I like to eat meat. And as I understand it, Mike was 17, and we all know when you're 17 that the hormones, they are a buzzing. Now, I was in the monastery, so I never had the hormone buzz, but I've been told by Mike it was quite something. And Mike, he didn't know whether or not Beth was a city girl or a country girl. A city girl has a youth of bloom in her cheeks, and a country girl has the cheeks of youth in her bloomers. But Mike was a gentleman. He asked her if she would go out the very next day, and he showed up in his brother George's white car. And he drove Beth to Moonshine Lake. But Beth questioned why Mike wouldn't be driving the big car with the big pipes.
The truck with the pipe.
Oh, sorry, the big truck. Thank you so much. I love the immediacy of the feedback.
Feedback's good.
But Mike said, I didn't think you would appreciate my big truck with the big pipes. Beth reaffirmed for him that she liked his truck. And that car was never, ever seen again. Mike became, over the months, ever more attracted to Beth. And in fact, he asked her if she'd marry him at Christmas in 1963. Unfortunately, Grandpa Scott, Beth's dad, would not allow this to happen. But Mike, being persistent, and then continuing to fall in love, approached Grandpa Scott, who, as I said, was a intimidating, over 6 foot tall, very stern and austere visage, as they say in Francais. But, this time, Cam surprised him and said, you're so young, it's not going to be an easy road. but you have my blessings. And on May the 9th, 50 years ago, in 1964, Mike and Beth were married in a Catholic church in Meadowlark. Baba and Guido and Grandma and close relatives were all there to attend the wedding. In the meantime, we all have to have butter on our bread. And Mike was attending barber school in Edmonton. Tammy was born on June the 15th, 1964. Then Mike and Beth moved to Hines Creek. And Mike was cutting hair at 50 cents a head. And you have to cut a lot of heads to make things stretch. After a harsh winter of cutting hair, they moved to Spirit River, where many of you are from. And they lived in this apartment, and I think that when we were chatting with Beth the other day, she described it as austere. In Spirit River, Mike cut hair during the day, and I think stocked shelves at night. And I think this is where Mrs. Ratcliffe came into his life, and she was a guardian angel for Mike. She seemed to take him under her wing. Here was a young man with a young bride, with a young child, and she wanted to see Mike prosper. And so she had him attend a course in installing carpets. He was a very busy man, but not busy enough as Beth became pregnant with Brenda, while she also worked at the Royal Bank in Spirit River. Brenda was born on October the 24th, 1965. Mike was a man's man. As they moved into a house that they had purchased on Mother's Day, what a beautiful Mother's Day. This weekend is Mother's Day. Mike drove that truck or van, whatever it was, filled with their furniture to the front of the home, and he got out of the truck and he left it there and he went fishing. Mike said life has its priorities, and fishing is a higher priority than moving. Beth, to her delight, was able to move into that home with her friends. They paid $12,000 for that home, which is his two-story house with a big brick yard. Brother George, who loved them, backed up that loan as Mike and Beth were still struggling, building an income that would actually last from payday to payday. Life went on, and on August the 21st, 1969, the beautiful Tracy Bell was born. She was the apple of Mike's eye and is my apple today. And finally, on December the 17th, 1970, Todd was born. Wow, 4 kids and all that responsibility after only 6 years of marriage. To support them, Mike worked at 2 businesses. He was a barber at his barber shop, and he also worked at what now is Michael's Flooring. Things were tough. I remember when we were chatting with Beth this week, she described it. It was tough making payments every month. Beth opened her own partnership in a flower shop at that time in Fairview. And with their 4 kids, they spent lots of time having fun, camping and enjoying each other. I heard that Todd used to set up there, they had an antenna, a big 6-meter dish that he used to, Tracy would open the window and say, left, 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 right, 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 left, 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 right. And some obscure channel would come onto their television set. It was 40 minus 40 degrees at that time, but Todd, being an honorable son, was in charge of television. In 1979, Mike and Beth packed up the kids and moved to Grand Prairie. By this time, Mike had expanded his businesses. He had businesses in Spirit River, Peace River, and Grand Prairie. And Beth had a craft store in Peace River and a flower shop in Grand Prairie. Actually, as I was writing this, I've been binge watching Breaking Bad. And I flashed back to the prosperity that they both had. They were building together. They had kids that they loved. And times were booming and life was good. To the chagrin of the kids, however, they moved to the country in 1981. And I've heard this disappointment in Tracy's eyes as she went from Grand Prairie, where they had television, and they had people that used to party and stuff. And they went out to this acreage where it was cold and dank and a long way. They couldn't escape the farm. But they all made the best of it. The kids all worked part-time in the business, in the flower shop, and this gave them a good business sense, and it created a creative acumen that in fact still serves them today. When I think of what Tammy has done with her husband and her 4 children that she has now, and I think of what Brenda has done and the businesses that she's developed and the wonderful things that Todd are doing, if I, as the president of our company, could ever have a chance and there wasn't a conflict of interest, he'd be the first guy I would hire as an executive. They're all such wonderful, wonderful children. Without going from year to year, 71 to 81 to 82, 83, 84, they continue to love each other. They continue to build upon what they had built as a foundation in their 17 and 18-year-old days. Beth, they both continued for the past 50 years to love each other, to dote on their children and grandchildren, Adrian, Elliot, Valero, Jojo, Alexander, and Georgia. And Tracy and I, we have 4 wieners. One's passed, but we still have, those are their grandchildren. When we travel, Coco and Lola and Mojo. Hugo still travels with us, but he's in a bit of a container. In 1970, actually it was in 1997 and 2000, Mike and Beth moved to Cochrane. They sold their businesses actually in those 2 years, but they moved to Cochrane in 2004. And I can tell you how wonderful it has been having them not too far from us in Calgary and now Bearspaw. And later in 2011, they actually moved to Palm Springs from Phoenix, where they used to winter. And many of you tonight have spent time with them in Orangeville, or whatever that town's called, Orangewood. And Orangewood, but I can tell you that Tracy and I have loved having them so close to us in Palm Springs. They actually live in Indio in a motor coach. We're in Rancho Mirage. We play golf a couple of times a week. Mike continues to beat me. Beth continues to beat Mike, so you know the pecking order. Not to go on too long, but tonight is about fun, friendship, and the celebration of 50 years of love and loyalty. And those are such powerful words, love and loyalty. And you wrap that up into family and friends. It's about the values. Family can provide. When I first came into the family, I was struck by Tracy's beauty and her beautiful traits. Then I met Todd, and then Brenda, and then Tammy. Their strengths flow from the wonderful values imparted by Mike and Beth. This is what attracts us to them, all of us. Their kindness, their humility, their shared joys, and, especially today, their optimism. We've each been blessed to count them as ours. Let's celebrate their 50 years together. Here, here. To Mike and Beth. Thank you once again for coming from wherever you came from. This is a wonderful, wonderful celebration, and I'm so proud to be a part of it.
Forever could never be long enough for me. I feel like I've had long enough with you.